I bought a dual screen gaming handheld PC with two OLED displays like a Nintendo DS.
Okay, so inside of this box is a dual OLED screen gaming handheld device, which I mean is something I've literally never tried before. Since this thing is kind of like a modern version of the Nintendo DS, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys once I actually take it out of this box, but this thing definitely resembles a DS a lot. I've seen like the listings and everything for this device, and it's like a really unique gaming handheld since it obviously has two screens that you can actually play from, and also because it is an OLED display for both, so it's gonna be really cool. But yeah, you guys can see this thing is a prototype that is sent by onexplayer, and it is their onexsugar, which is their brand new handheld device. And then inside the box we obviously also have the charging cable for it. So yeah, this onexsugar comes with like this protective case, which is definitely really cool. But let's go ahead and open this thing up. And like I said, this thing is a prototype, but the final release will be really similar to what it actually is. And taking a look inside, you guys can see we have like a retro looking gaming handheld. Right now you guys can only see one of its screens, but once I flip to the back, you guys can see it has another screen. So we have a smaller screen over here as well as the larger main display over here. You guys can actually play on this handheld with like only one screen if you guys want to, but you guys can actually use both displays, which is definitely really cool. If you go ahead and I think just flip this thing up, boom, just like that we have the display up, but then you guys can actually move the Joy-Cons all the way up like that for both sides. And I mean, this thing is literally like a DS. I haven't used anything like this in a long time. I haven't even seen any device that's like remotely close to what this is. But yeah, this thing is like super cool since we have a main display over here and then a smaller display on the bottom. The overall design of this handheld definitely looks really nice as well. For the prototype, there's like a ton of chrome on like the back ends, but on the published version, I'm pretty sure there's like less chrome and stuff. But like regardless, this is still a very cool handheld. I mean, yeah, this thing is literally like a modern DS, which is like a really unique type of handheld. I've literally never used anything like this before. I want to actually take a look and see if there's other ways to actually move these control Joy-Cons. It looks like you could actually put it like this. You guys can play it with like the smaller screen on top, the bigger screen on the bottom, or if you guys just want to go ahead and just play on one screen, we can fold back the smaller display. Then you guys can go ahead and just play this thing like a Nintendo Switch. But yeah, not only is this thing a really unique and cool gaming handheld, the specs inside of this thing are definitely really powerful as well. Also, I just realized that this thing just connects magnetically, which is definitely really helpful. But yeah, taking a look at the specs of this modern DS looking thing, the processor inside of this onexsugar, it has a Qualcomm Snapdragon G3 processor, which actually has 8 cores. It has one ARM Cortex X4 Prime core, as well as having 5 performance cores and 2 efficiency cores. And then for the GPU inside of this handheld, it has a Qualcomm Adreno A3 GPU. So yeah, really nice specs inside of this handheld. Obviously, this is a Android handheld, so this would be like a perfect gaming device to actually run like emulators. I'm gonna go ahead and see if Fortnite even runs on this thing, which is definitely gonna be really cool if it does. I'm pretty sure Fortnite is literally just gonna have like a loading screen on this bottom display and then like the actual game on the top display. But if you guys actually take a look at both the main display and the secondary displays, this main display is a 6.1 inch OLED display with a resolution of 1080 by 2160. So yeah, the larger display is definitely gonna have a really nice picture since it's not only OLED, but the resolution is definitely pretty high as well. And then for the secondary smaller display, it is running a 1240 by 1080 resolution. That is a 3.94 inch OLED display as well. I'm not sure if there's like a button or anything to actually like enable each display, but from the looks of it, you should be able to actually do that since you're able to actually play with only one display. I'm not sure if you're actually able to play just on the smaller display. It looks like you can only just play on the larger one, since if you actually just fold everything back, the smaller one goes down. As you guys can see, the smaller display just goes straight to the back, while while the main display is being played like that. But regardless, this is still a really unique design. Like I said, I've literally never seen a dual display gaming handheld before. I'm not sure how games will actually run through that, but also with this onexsugar, it has a dual fan support. So the cooling inside of this handheld is definitely gonna be really nice as well. Not gonna have any like overheating issues or anything like that. So let's go ahead and actually power this thing on with the power button on the side. And it also has a micro SD reader just right there as well, which is definitely really cool. But let's go ahead and turn this thing on. There we go. We have the onexsugar powered on. You guys can see on the Joy-Cons as well, there's RGB. I'm not sure if I'm actually able to like change the colors and everything, but yeah, you guys can see we have this dual display going on right now. And since this thing is an Android device, we can go ahead and just swipe up and there we go. It actually looks like there's pre-installed games on here, which is definitely really cool. For this like bottom secondary display, I think it just matches exactly what the top is, just in like a smaller and more like organized format. Okay, so it looks like if you guys just keep swiping, you can go ahead and go into like the setting. There's also options for like its gamepad, so I guess you guys can connect some things to it and also change like the buttons and stuff from this onexsugar. And then from there, we can also go into the settings, as you guys can see. And yeah, right here, you guys can see this is a onexsugar handheld game console, and it's basically just running Android version 14. Not sure how good that is since I'm not too sure about like Android devices, but yeah, this is definitely really cool. We're gonna go ahead and try to download all the games I want to on this device and see how good it actually could run, since it does have a Snapdragon processor inside with 8 cores. And also, I just realized, but the sides also light up with onexsugar, which is definitely really cool. And on the other side, you guys can see there's like a candy logo thing, which is really unique and cool. This thing just has like really nice retro vibes while also still looking like a Nintendo DS, which is a really cool design. So yeah, I also will have this onexsugar handheld linked in the description for you guys to check it out, which I honestly... Okay, now taking a look at this onexsugar handheld, you guys can see I did download a few things for this handheld. And since this thing was a prototype, it did take some time to actually download all these things. But just showing you guys how to actually change the displays and also like the RGB lighting. On the bottom left, there's like this little heart thing. And once you actually press this thing, it actually shows up with this tab. And for games that actually support having both displays, so we're talking about like emulators, Pokemon games, all that stuff, we can go ahead and just switch it over to this fusion display option, which obviously right now it does not support since we're literally just in the main menu. But yeah, you guys can also change like the aspect ratio, which display to play from, all those things. And obviously at the top, it also shows you like the CPU temperatures, the RAM, and then below that, we can go ahead and change like the performance. You guys can either use balanced performance or power saving. And under that, you guys can also change the gamepad. So you guys can change like all the controls and stuff for this Joy-Con. So yeah, definitely really cool. But over here, you guys can see we can change the RGB lighting. And it looks like the RGB lighting is actually not on its brightest mode. So we can go ahead and just turn it on, and oh my, this thing actually looks so much better when it's fully bright. This thing actually gives off crazy retro handheld vibes. But we can go ahead and also change the color of the RGB. That looks fire. That actually looks really nice. But also, you guys can change like the color effect. So let's go ahead and change it to rainbow, and you guys can see this thing just has a rainbow effect now. Yeah, really cool. We have lollipop, which definitely looks really nice as well. But now I also did download Epic Games Launcher as well as GeForce Now, since I'm pretty sure for Fortnite Mobile running natively through this handheld, you're not going to be able to use like these Joy-Cons. You're basically going to be able to play Fortnite just like this, which is basically just like playing on your phone. So if you guys actually use GeForce Now, I'm pretty sure you guys can actually use these Joy-Cons over here from this onexsugar handheld and actually play Fortnite like a handheld device. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using it through GeForce Now, or at least Fortnite, since this thing actually comes with pre-installed games. So for this onexsugar, it actually has some pre-installed games like this game over here, which is like a shooting game. You guys can see all the Joy-Cons and all the mapping stuff just shows up on the screen. But another thing it has is like an app with a ton of emulator games. So we can go ahead and open this thing up right over here. But yeah, also this side over here is like the volume scroll thing. But we obviously have a bunch of Nintendo 3DS games. We have some Android games. And yeah, there's a bunch of options. So we can go ahead and try out all of these. This thing is basically going to be running like like an emulator, which is looking really nicely. Let me actually quickly show you guys how it actually works with both these screens. So if I go ahead and load up Pokemon, for example, we can go ahead and just launch that up through an emulator. Usually you guys can play Pokemon with both screens, and what you basically do, like I showed you guys, is go into the Fusion display. Once I press Fusion, you guys can see there's gonna be 2 displays now. And yeah, there we go. You guys can see we can run Pokemon with both these displays. The only problem is Pokemon is literally in another language, so we're gonna be running it through like Chinese. But yeah, you guys can see we can still run Pokemon really nicely. And you guys can see we can run like an emulator game like Pokemon, like you would on your Nintendo DS or like your Game Boy, something like that. Yeah, really cool. That app basically just gives you a bunch of emulator games to try out. But what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is actually just load in GeForce Now and see how Fortnite will basically run on this handheld. I wouldn't be surprised if Fortnite didn't run with both these displays, but I do want to test out like these Joy-Cons and the controls coming from this handheld. So let's go ahead and press play and see what happens on this handheld now. Okay, so now taking a look at Fortnite loaded up inside of this onexsugar handheld. I'm pretty sure you guys obviously can't play Fortnite with 2 displays, but if I do try to switch it to like the Fusion display, you guys can see this app does not support it. I mean, yeah, obviously Fortnite is not going to run through 2 displays, but what I am going to go ahead and try to do is test out Fortnite with these Joy-Cons and everything. But something you guys could do, since you have basically 2 displays, is I guess the bottom display you guys could like load up something to watch, something like that. I'm not too sure. You can do anything since this thing is basically a secondary display, and I'm pretty sure we should be able to use these Joy-Cons. Let me go ahead and try it out. And yeah, you guys can see we are able to actually use the Joy-Cons from this handheld for Fortnite. So this thing is literally kind of like a Nintendo Switch. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can even try to build. I am kind of getting like the keys down, but basically Fortnite is just being run through these Joy-Cons over here, all these buttons over here, as well as the buttons on the back of this handheld. So this thing is kind of just playing like controller, but if you switch over to touchscreen, this thing basically switches over to playing like Fortnite mobile. You guys can see we're actually running about like 75 FPS consistently. So playing Fortnite on this thing, we are running a consistent 75 FPS, which definitely isn't too bad. Still haven't figured out how to actually shoot my gun. How do you actually like shoot? I'm not even sure, bro. Okay, so it's basically just this button over here, which is L1. Obviously, I am gonna go into 0 builds just because there's no way I'm gonna be able to build. I think on the bottom, you guys could actually just like load up YouTube or something. That is actually really cool. You guys can go ahead and play Fortnite, but also watch YouTube at the same time. That is really cool, bro. Yeah, you guys could like watch YouTube, do whatever you want on this bottom display. And in the top display, obviously, you guys are just gonna be playing Fortnite, which is definitely really cool. Now, in an actual game, you guys can see we're still running a consistent 75 FPS. I actually don't know how to jump out of this freaking bus. I'm not gonna lie though, the game definitely feels pretty smooth, even though both displays are only a 60 hertz refresh rate. It's so weird how the controls for shooting is this one over here when it should be like the outer one. Regardless, this handheld is still pretty good. The only problem I have is that it doesn't run Fortnite too good, but this thing is kind of used for like emulators and all those games with dual displays. It's not really a big problem, but for a game like Fortnite, which I actually want to test out, oh my. There's aim assist though, right? All right, we have aim assist, Bro, lock in. Lock, bro! What? Holy I'm so bad. I'm not gonna lie. Bro, playing on this handheld, I'm absolutely horrible. But for the most part, playing on this handheld is still very smooth, even though we are running only a 60 hertz refresh rate. And you guys can see, obviously, we're still running about like 65 FPS or so. Fortnite is definitely not the best game to test out this dual display handheld. Oh my, bro, like aim assist is horrible. Okay, we got that guy. I'm not sure if actually using something else on this bottom display kind of like decreases the performance coming from this handheld. Obviously it should if you guys are like watching a YouTube video or anything on the bottom display. For the most part, it's still a very cool design and very unique. So I guess this is pretty good if you're still playing Fortnite with it. Get over here. Bam, 200. Where's the other guy? Right here, ready? 200. 200, cracked. 200. Frames are actually slowly dropping a little bit for some reason once I get closer to tilted. Yeah, these are just straight bots, even though I'm like not that much better, but okay, ready? Boom, 200. I am gonna go ahead and test out all the emulator games that's pre-installed on this handheld afterwards. Obviously, it's just gonna run so much smoother compared to running Fortnite right now. Fortnite is just like not the greatest game to actually test out this hand. Oh, I'm about to die. I'm actually gonna die to this. Who else is shooting me? There's no way. There's no way. Get my gun out. Get the free kill right there. Still another guy up here. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh my, bro. There's no freaking, yeah, you guys can see Fortnite is literally not the best game to test this thing out on. No, if you guys are trying to play Fortnite with this handheld, it does work though. Let me get my get back. Where's this bot, bro? Where's this absolute bot? The game's actually slowly getting smoother. You guys can see we're running about like 70. Oh, I forgot I'm gonna fight. Yeah, the game is getting, oh my, run, run, run. Oh, I was literally too focused on the game getting smoother at about like 70 FPS. Okay, now testing out some games on the emulator apps. As you guys can see, I have it with both displays now. This is basically just Mario on DS, and we're literally running this thing exactly how it would on a DS. These are kind of like the games that are meant to be played with this thing if you're actually using both displays. Obviously, you could use just one display and use it kind of like a gaming handheld, like a Nintendo Switch or whatnot, but we're gonna go ahead and just test it out with like an emulator game on Mario. I think Mario might actually still run at 60 FPS too, so you are getting at a higher FPS. Yeah, let's go ahead and test this thing out. You guys can see we are running really nicely. The second display on this Mario game is kind of just like your map. So I remember the DS having literally 2 displays, which was a really cool thing. Also, the game is in Chinese, obviously. I don't know how to change it, but I think we're gonna manage. I can't enter here, I think you can't. Let's go ahead and just skip all this. Can we enter this door? What do I do? All right, bro, I give up. But yeah, you guys can see there are a ton of other games you guys can test out with this emulator app. Really just testing out the dual display and seeing how well it is. Mega Man Advent. Never ever tried this before. Let's go ahead and just go normal mode. I'm pretty sure the game is also still running at 60 FPS as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and test this thing out. I mean, should be self-explanatory. Just shoot people, jump. Yeah, the game is definitely running pretty good for this handheld. All the controls and everything match with the game, so it's gonna be really easy to play. Yeah, this thing is literally a DS and Game Boy combined, so the bottom is kind of just like this map area, and also you could switch the displays really easily just from pressing this Joy-Con over here on the left. And you guys can see it just switches to the smaller display. If you guys want to switch it back, boom, just like that. Super easy. I honestly think this device is definitely really good for people who want to go into like retro games or like emulators, but it could still run Fortnite. You guys saw me do it, so yeah, let's go, bro. GG's.